picture this. It's an ordinary Tuesday morning in Culiacan, Sinaloa.
Right.
We're talking October 2023. The city is just waking up. You know, the smell of fresh corn tortillas is in the air. Kids are walking to school.
Just a totally normal day.
Exactly. And then a faded municipal police patrol car pulls up beside a man named Alexander Meza Leon.
Okay.
The officers step out, they show their badges, and they tell him to get in. It looks, to anyone watching, exactly like a routine arrest.
I mean, you wouldn't think twice if you saw it.
Right. But it isn't. They don't take him to a precinct. They drive him to a secondary location, hand him over to cartel hitmen, and just, drive away.
Wow.
Yeah. Alexander, who had actually been quietly working as a DEA informant, is tortured and killed. But here is the most chilling part of that entire scene.
What's that?
This wasn't a case of like a few rogue cops going off the books. This was the system working exactly as it was designed to.
Yeah, that is the absolute definition of institutional capture.
Yeah.
We often like to think of corruption as a bug in the system, right? Like a glitch that needs fixing.
Sure.
But in this specific case, the corruption wasn't a bug. It was the operating system itself.
That is such a wild concept. And welcome to today's deep dive into the source material, The Poison of the Sierra Madre by Chito Pepler.
It's a heavy one today.
It really is. We are pulling from a massive stack of sources, journalistic investigations, court filings, some really brave on-the-ground reporting. Our mission today is to unpack the anatomy of how a modern cartel literally purchased a Mexican state government.
Right, which is just staggering to think about.
It's unbelievable. We're going to examine the geopolitical shockwaves this created between the U.S. and Mexico, and, most importantly, the human cost of this impunity. But before we get into the mechanisms of a hijacked state, let's set the stage a bit.
Good idea.
Where exactly are we talking about? Like, give us the lay of the land.
Well, to really grasp how something like this happens, you have to understand the geography of Sinaloa. It's a place of incredibly stark contrasts.
Okay, how so?
Over on the coast, you have this massive agricultural wealth. I mean, some of the most productive farmland in North America. You have the capital city of Culiacan, which is a proper, vibrant metropolis.
Right, they've got universities, great restaurants.
Exactly, a massive fan base for the Tomateros baseball team. It's a modern city, but if you look to the east, you see the Sierra Madre Mountains.
And those are pretty rugged, right?
Very beautiful, but incredibly steep, dense pine forests. And for over a century, those isolated mountains have basically been the cradle of the global drug trade.
Wow.
Yeah, it is a harsh terrain that fundamentally rewards, self-reliance, paranoia, and absolute silence.
So how do we get from a vibrant modern city with universities and baseball games to a fully operational cartel state?
Right, that's the big question.
The turning point, according to the sources, is the 2021 gubernatorial election. Because this is the moment the Sinaloa cartel shifted from violently fighting the government to simply acquiring it.
Right, just buying it wholesale.
Exactly. And the reporting of Annabelle Hernandez, she's this incredible investigative journalist who has faced constant death threats for her work. She basically blows this wide open.
Her reporting is just phenomenal.
It really is. She uncovered a series of secret meetings in early 2021. And the location of these meetings was incredibly brazen. It was the mountain home of El Chapo's mother in a village called La Tuna.
Right, a remote, private residence that effectively functioned as a high-stakes campaign event venue.
Okay, let's unpack this, because in these meetings you have El Chapo's sons, the Chapitos, specifically Ivan Archibaldo Guzman Salazar.
Right, even is key here.
Yeah. And he is sitting down with operatives for the Morena Party candidate, Ruben Rocha Moya. The cartel is basically proposing a hostile corporate takeover.
But instead of buying shares, they were buying an election.
Yes. Now, I have to push back here for a second.
Sure, go for it.
If the Chapitos already possess, military-grade weapons, and they can completely outgun the local police whenever they want to, why bother going through all the trouble of rigging an election?
Right. Why not just rule by force?
Exactly. Like, why play politics at all?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it comes down to a profound realization Ivan had 2 years prior. You remember 2019?
The Culicanazo.
Yes. The Mexican military tried to arrest his brother, Ovidio, right in the middle of Culiacan. And the cartel responded by paralyzing the entire city with violence.
I remember seeing the videos. It was terrifying.
It was. They burned vehicles, they surrounded military housing, and they created so much chaos that the government literally surrendered and let Ovidio go.
Which is just an unprecedented demonstration of power.
It was. But Ivan allegedly told his brother later, fear ends.
Fear ends. Meaning what exactly?
Meaning Ivan realized that violent theatrical demonstrations eventually draw federal crackdowns. They force the military's hand.
Oh, I see.
Right. A purchase bureaucracy, however, provides quiet, permanent protection. He didn't want the state government to fear them. He wanted the state government to work for them.
That makes a terrifying amount of sense.
And partnering with the Morena Party was highly strategic. Morena is the ruling party of the Mexican president. If you capture a governor from the ruling federal party, your political protection extends way beyond the state lines of Sinaloa.
So they strike the deal. Fast forward to Election Day, June 6, 2021. How do you actually steal an election across an entire state?
Logistical efficiency.
Because they didn't just stuff a few ballot boxes.
No. They executed it with the exact same efficiency they applied to their international drug supply chains. Armed men systematically stole ballot boxes across multiple municipalities where opposition support was high.
Just walked right in and took them.
Yes. And they kidnapped the family members of opposition candidates to force them to drop out, like Luis Alonso Irbe, whose sister was running for local office.
And the police, where were they while armed men were stealing ballot boxes and kidnapping people?
Standing down. The state police were receiving frantic emergency calls from citizens, but their commanders explicitly ordered them to stay away from the polling sites.
You're kidding.
I wish I was. By the end of the day, Rocha Moya wins the governorship with 55% of the vote.
Unbelievable.
They delivered the win, and in exchange, the cartel essentially became the shadow HR department for the new state government.
Which is fascinating because you've essentially hacked the election. But winning is one thing, managing an illicit state is another.
Right, the day-to-day operations.
Exactly. How does a multi-billion-dollar cartel actually do payroll for a corrupted government? You would assume an enterprise of this size would use, I don't know, sophisticated offshore accounts, shell companies, or crypto networks to hide the bribes.
You really would think so.
But no. When federal investigators finally uncovered the paperwork of this corruption, they found handwritten lists on cheap, lined paper.
Literally just lined notebook paper.
Yeah. Every month, a box of physical cash arrived in Culiacan, accompanied by these lined sheets detailing exactly who was getting what.
It looks exactly like a household grocery budget. The absolute banality of it is striking.
And the amounts are shockingly low. We're talking $41,000 a month for a municipal police commander.
Right.
Which he then had to distribute among 40 officers, $16,000 for the head of investigative police, $10,000 for the deputy attorney general.
It's wild.
I mean, this is a cartel making billions off the global drug trade. Are you telling me they essentially bought a state's investigative apparatus for the price of a used Honda Civic?
It sounds absurd to an outsider, but it highlights the profound economic desperation of public service in Mexico.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Well, government salaries simply do not compensate for the mortal risks of having genuine integrity in a place like Sinaloa. For the cartel, $10,000 a month is a microscopic, negligible operational expense.
Barely a rounding error.
Exactly. But for an underpaid deputy attorney general, that is life-changing money. It's the difference between sending your kids to a safe private school or constantly looking over your shoulder waiting for a hitman.
Wow.
It's cheap to buy the system when the system is starving.
Now, if you're listening to this and wondering why a rigged election and cheap bribes in Sinaloa matter to someone living in, say, Ohio or West Virginia, it comes down to what those corrupted police forces are paid to ignore.
Yes, the core product.
They are protecting the fentanyl pipeline. Tucked away in those beautiful Sierra Madre mountains are makeshift labs where cartel workers take precursor chemicals imported from China and they press them into blue pills.
Right, the fake oxycodone.
Exactly. They are designed to look exactly like pharmaceutical oxycodone. It's capitalizing directly on the addiction crisis originally sparked by Purdue Pharma in the U.S.
And this is where the cold operational reality of the cartel collides with, fragile human biology. Fentanyl is roughly 50 times stronger than heroin.
50 times.
Yeah. A lethal dose is just 2 milligrams. To visualize that, 2 milligrams is an amount of powder that could easily fit right on the tip of a pencil.
But wait, they are hand mixing these batches in mountain labs. They literally use shovels and industrial mixers.
Yep.
And they are stamping them with Chapiza or Raton, which is Ovidio's alias, like treating this deadly chemical like it's a streetwear brand.
Precisely. And that hand-mixing process guarantees that the dosage is wildly inconsistent. One pill from a batch might give someone the relief or the high they are desperately seeking.
Right.
But another pill from the exact same batch, looking exactly the same, will have 3 milligrams of fentanyl instead of 1. It'll cross the border, end up in a suburban